Dave, why did the Citizen decide to send you back to Afghanistan in December?
Well, I think the Citizen wanted to take a look at, the mission, and it was such a major historical event for this country. It was the largest deployment since Korea. It's been going on 12 years for sure. So we wanted to take a look and go back and see what was accomplished and see what the current situation is.
So this is your third trip to Afghanistan. Can you give me, in broad strokes, a description of how the security situation has changed over that period of time and where it sits right now?
In 2007, when I went, there was more of a... the situation was freer. I mean, there's a lot of NATO troops on the roads, a lot of security contractors. The Afghans didn't have control of the security themselves. And so it was almost, as a Westerner, you could go almost anywhere that you wanted. Kandahar has always been a special place, and when I went down there in Kandahar, it was still dangerous. In 2009, when I went back, it was a little bit more tighter on the security, and there was different attacks going on in Kabul. Again, I went down to Kandahar. It was dangerous still, and in this trip, it was different in the sense of the danger is still there in Kabul. So the other two times, I actually walked freely through the streets of Kabul, dressed in Afghan garb. This time, it was it just felt a little more dangerous. And the people we were staying with in the guest house was a French charity, and they had just had 6 people executed, and so in the north, and they were very leery about having people coming and going out of their facility because they were worried about their security. On this trip, we went throughout Kabul, obviously, and then flew down to Kandahar because taking the road to Kandahar is too dangerous. We would have been killed, undoubtedly. Well, the security there is very minimal, and the insurgents often take control of the road, so it would be very, very dangerous. So we flew to Kandahar. When we got to Kandahar, the governor's office insisted that we have. I was with another journalist, so that we have a bodyguards. I think we had 7 gunmen with a truck accompanying the vehicle that we had.
Tell me about your trip up to the north.
Well, I mean, the one thing that I noticed on the road trip was previously in 2007, 2007, there wasn't any Afghan National Army or Afghan National Police outposts. You could just drive and no problems. Now there was these small fortresses all along the road. And they had been, there's bullet holes in them and that type of thing. So it's obvious that they're attacked at certain times. There was a destroyed fuel tanker on the side of the road that had been attacked and burned out. So that was all new, and that was different. More roadblocks, more security checks.
As we all know, Canada spent most of its time and energy and lost most of its soldiers down in Kandahar. Can you tell me a bit about the situation down there?
It all depends who you talk to. I mean, the governor's office was saying some of the success stories that Foreign Affairs has mentioned, schools, that type of thing. Now, they also mentioned that some of the schools that Canada built have been abandoned or destroyed. The reason they were abandoned is because there's no school kids. There's not enough school kids in that area. And according to the governor's office, they had told the Canadians that, but for some reason they weren't listened to, and they found that very puzzling. Somewhat disheartening to see the granite obelisk that the photos of Canadians killed in combat were laid out, and Remembrance Day ceremonies were held. Well, that's covered in weeds, and there's a cigarette butt and half-eaten plate of rice. So I mean, that was interesting to say the least to see.
Scott, tell me if there's anything coming up,
What about Afghanistan's capital, Kabul, where our training mission right now is focused? What is the situation there?
When I was there, on the way to the Kabul training center, a suicide bomber attacked, a NATO convoy. So there's that type of atmosphere going on. The Canadians are in their green zone, and they don't leave that. So I got a sense of people are just hunkered down, particularly foreigners.
Would you say that the Canadian mission in Afghanistan, since we started there in 2001, up through the various iterations it's had, has made much of a difference to Afghanistan?
Like the Kandahar governor said, the Canadians did well in Kandahar. Other Afghans that we talked to said they haven't seen, the average Afghan hasn't seen a lot from all the money that's been poured into that country. I thought the best comment came from an aid worker who said there has been changes, but not everyone is benefiting.
What comes next for Afghanistan with all the countries leaving?
Well, I mean, that's the big question. People are talking, there's concern that the insurgents will be able to make inroads. There's talk about perhaps the warlords will make a bid to come back. I mean, they already have their weapons stockpiled, and if something doesn't go their way, there's that potential as well. So, I mean, I think it's a real, the next 5 years is going to be is going to tell them where that country's going.